Lyre of the Lion by TheNightNinja2, Chapter 26, Never a Dull Moment. Louisa found the chores upon the Dawn Treader were actually enjoyable to her, because she wasn't doing them alone. Their journey to find the 7 Lords of Telmar was not lost on her, but she couldn't help but just enjoy being on the ship. Her gift made the work easy, and everyone pulled their own weight. Well, apart from Scrub. Antonio's task was keeping the seabirds from getting in the way. He had held long conversations with them on the forecastle, so he wasn't underfoot. The lookout also enjoyed the company of the little prince, and Reapy Cheap also enjoyed the conversations with the birds as Antonio translated. Louisa also found something she had never had in the Encanto: men's attention. Many of the men aboard the ship would attempt to carry more than her or do tasks at strange angles to try and impress her. Mirabel caught on to what they were doing immediately and found it amusing. Louisa had no idea what to think of all the attention, and blushed profusely when Mirabel pointed it out. Lucy found herself needing to treat large rope burns, broken limbs, strains, sprains, and twisted ankles rather frequently, until she decided that the cordial really should only be used for the most serious injuries. The stunts on the ropes stopped after that. Mirabel had taken to navigation with Lord Drinian, because, in Edmund's words, "The stars have always seemed to speak to our sister. There was no greater navigator than her and Ardo." Mirabel had blushed at the praise, but had looked at the star charts and lunar calendars and maps, and apart from a few constellations that seemed to be new, she knew exactly where they were on their course. Even only mere hours aboard the Dawn Treader, they had all settled back into the roles they knew. "Aye, your ladyship should take a break shortly. It does not do well to overtax oneself," said the men. "Are you sure? I normally do much more than this in an hour," said Louisa, settling a barrel down. "Of course! You've done work of 6 of us. Take rest and regale us with tales of your world," said another man. "Tell us of how the great deeds of our princess in your world." "Well, she taught me to sword fight. I'm nowhere near as good at it as she is, though," said Louisa. "You are. Don't be so hard on yourself. Only the High King Peter could beat her with a sword. And her aim with a bow rivals her dear sister High Queen Susan," chuckled Caspian as he sat down with them, eager to learn more about Mirabel and her family. Since they were all taking a break, Mirabel was supervising Reapy Cheap, showing Antonio how to wield a tiny rapier, as the chief mouse used. "Have you ever sailed before, your ladyship?" asked one of the men. "No, my home is landlocked, but I have read many books about sailing and adventures on the sea, and Mirabel has told me stories of her own times on ships here in Narnia," said Louisa. "Never been on a ship yet found her sea legs faster than the king," commented one of the men. There was suddenly an argument between Mirabel and Eustace. "Oh, I don't want to miss this," chuckled Edmund. "Are you calling me a bad mother for showing my child how to stay safe in a world that relies on skills with a blade?" screeched Mirabel. "Knives are not for children. Alberta says mothers must let their children learn things from books and school," said Eustace. "So you are calling me a bad mother," said Mirabel. "I suppose I am," said Eustace. He hadn't realised how dangerous the woman he was speaking to was. Mirabel's hand was on her sword hilt before she thought better of it and clenched her fist, drawing it back and punching the idiot in the face, breaking his nose. "Come along, Antonio. Tell your feathered friends to use this idiot as a toilet," said Mirabel, walking off. "You got off lucky. Mama has drawn her sword on Abuela for less," said Antonio, seething with an anger that only a 5-year-old can. "Please continue your lesson, Reapy Cheap. You are capable of teaching him tricks that I cannot because of his height," said Mirabel kindly. Lucy was about to go and heal Eustace, but Edmund stopped her. "If you heal him, he won't learn." "And Antonio was right. Eustace got off lucky," said Edmund. Eustace ran off to write in his diary. Now he knew to stay clear of both Big L and M. Louisa enjoyed supper. Although the food was a far different cry from her mother's cooking, it was still wonderful. The next night Mirabel was out on the deck with a sextant, and learning the constellation she was unfamiliar with from Drinian. Edmund walked over to Louisa, who was helping prepare the deck for the night. So, what's it like seeing your sister in her element? I remember that Mariano fellow was rather shocked, said Edmund. I've seen the real Mirabel several times, and I heard all her Narnian stories years ago. It's nice to see her so comfortable, and more at home than the Encanto could ever be for her. This is her world, her home. I'm glad I got to come along, even if we don't know why we were all called here. It's best not to question miracles, said Louisa. What are some of your tasks at home? Asked Caspian. Carrying escaped livestock back to their farms, moving the church, rerouting the river, lifting the bridge when the river is rerouted. Anything in town that needs heavy lifting, I'm responsible. Though, for the last weeks, I didn't have my gift, and the house was gone, and so we were rebuilding our home. Mirabel gave the magic back about 5 minutes before we came to Narnia, said Louisa. She gave the magic back? Why was it gone in the first place? Asked a puzzled Edmund. Oh, I do hope your grandmother didn't push Mirabel into doing something drastic, said Lucy. Pretty much. Abuela says some things Mirabel found her true power, and then took away the magic, and the house crumbled. We had to learn how to be a better family in order to earn the magic back. Though Mira still hasn't forgiven Abuela, said Louisa. How was Mirabel able to control the magic? Asked Lucy. Something to do with Abuelo, Aslan, and magic itself, said Louisa. Aslan never did call Mirabel a daughter of Eve, like he did me and Susan. He called her something else, like she wasn't human, said Lucy. Daughter of magic. Perhaps our dear little sister is made of magic. She always did seem more sensitive to changes in Narnia's magic, said Edmund. That's what we think too. Abuela must have had a nightmare where Aslan spoke to her, because she seemed to figure out that line rather quickly when we heard his voice, the night Mirabel confiscated the magic. Abuela called Mira the second miracle, said Louisa. You heard Aslan in your world? Asked Caspian. Louisa nodded. Oh, I'd love if Aslan came to our world, sighed Lucy. We didn't really see him, but we heard his voice and his roar, said Louisa. Mirabel chose that moment to come over and sit with them. Mira, perhaps you can treat us to the music of your lyre. Your sister hasn't heard you play your magical tunes before, said Edmund. Of course, just let me go get Antonio tucked into bed first, said Mirabel. For the first time that afternoon, Edmund heard the distinct clinking of chainmail, and it was obvious who it came from. She didn't take off her armor? Asked Edmund. She rarely does. Sometimes our mother catches her sleeping in it, and our abuela said it's something to do with frequent nightmares Mira has, said Louisa. Ah, I understand. I get those myself on occasion, as does Peter as well. I suspect without us around for her to talk to and confide in, that they have likely gotten worse while she's been in your world, said Edmund sadly. Lucy looked in the direction their sister had walked. I'm not as good as Susan, and certainly not Peter, but I will try to help her as much as I can. Oh, bother, I never have been good at helping her through her nightmares. Now it seems I'm going to be the only one of us readily available, sighed Lucy. I thought she was close with all of you, said Louisa. Oh, yes, but Peter was always her favourite big brother, and Susan was her favourite big sister. It's my own fault for not getting the title earlier on because of how I acted, but I think Susan reminded her of your mother when Mirabel was little, so that's how Susan got the role of favourite big sister. We are all close to her in our own ways. Peter and Susan still miss Mira terribly, but I think the Encanto did something to our sweet sister that will take a long time to fix, sighed Edmund. Abuela still hasn't fully apologized to Mira, and it worries me because Mirabel is dead set on never returning to the Encanto. The reason she had a bag and her weapons with her when we arrived was that she was fully prepared for the magic to call her back here, said Louisa. If Aslan allows her to stay here, we will take good care of her, assured Caspian. But what about Antonio? If Mirabel stays here, then she won't be there for him in the Encanto, said Lucy. Louisa looked at the ground. I think she knows that Antonio has been allowed to spend more and more time with his birth mother, my dear Beppo, over the last few months, and Mirabel has completely repaired her relationship with Tia more than the rest of us. I think she wants to give Papa a chance to be Antonio's mother, so that Mira can stay here in Narnia. This is her home. You are her family. Abuela killed that opportunity for her, for most of us to be that for her, sighed Louisa sadly. And you aren't going to try to convince her to go back? Said Lucy. I think the only one who can do that is Aslan himself. As much as I love my little sister, I also want her to be happy. She isn't happy in the Encanto, but even a few hours back here, I've seen her smile more than I have in 10 years. Even a fool could see that Narnia is part of her. It was the moment it accepted her and showed her kindness. The miracle appeared to have rejected her. Abuela did reject and neglect her, but Narnia didn't. Narnia remembered her, loved her just as much as she loved it. Why would she want to stay in a place that causes her so much pain, even if it started to try and fix things? The damage was done. She steps aboard this ship and is not only recognized, she's loved, said Louisa. Maybe it's a good thing we can't go to your world. I have a few choice words of that grandmother of yours, muttered Edmund. Suddenly soft music started up from down in the hold. It ascended the stairs, growing louder and louder. Edmund smiled as the music was clearly recognizable as the music of Mirabel's lyre. The lanterns shone in the night, and a low fog lay over the ocean, even though the sky was clear. Mira was bathed in moon and lantern light. Come on, lads! I know at least one of you has an instrument with you, or at least can carry a tune, called Mirabel. Long into the night, they sang and danced to the music of the lyre, and Louisa felt her hopes soar with every note. She found herself dancing among the crew, twirling in the arms of a Minotaur, then Caspian himself, and even Esmond and Drinian. What is with all this bloody noise? I am trying to get some sleep on this toy of a ship, exclaimed Eustace. There once was a boy named Eustace, whose opinions were utterly useless. He'd talk as though he wasn't importance, but arrogance and ignorance made him blinder than a bat. Oh, I say, if this boy's got Eustace, perhaps to use that brain you claim to have, to think before you speak, sang Mirabel, mirth shining in her eyes as the crew roared with laughter. I'll be reporting you for slander to the British consul, and bats aren't blind, said Eustace indignantly. Listen here, scrub. I don't care what your supposed British consul could do to me. Get it through that thick skull of yours that you aren't in England or anywhere near it. If that broken nose and black eye I gave you earlier aren't any indications, you pose no threat to me. I'm surprised that you are even remotely related to my brothers and sisters. Every family has oddballs, but you are just nuts. Now, shut up with your nonsense, or I'll kindly ask Louisa to throw you overboard. You need the bath anyway after Antonio's feathered friends shit all over you, said Mirabel. Eustace looked over at Caspian, Lucy and Edmund. Aren't you going to at least reprimand her? He asked indignantly. She outranks me, shrugged Caspian. Edmund was trying to hold back laughter, and Lucy was trying to figure out whether or not to laugh or take pity on her cousin. Sorry about the wet blanket, men. Let's get back to sailing songs of old Narnia, called Mirabel, striking up another tune on the lyre to the cheers of the crew. Mira, are you planning on going to bed at all tonight? Called Louisa. Mirabel was at the starboard of the ship, looking out over the vast ocean, the wind blowing through her hair. Her eyes closed as she soaked in the Narnian air. Bed can wait, Lulu. I'm home again, and never leaving, said Mirabel, before twirling back into the lantern-lit dance. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that. Oh boy, I'm liking this. Little Antonio being angry at Eustace and Mirabel telling the bugs to defecate on him. And I love how Louisa's getting male attention. Again, I've said before, I really like Louisa. And hearing her be flirted with all the time is just fun. And trust me guys, you're going to hear more of it. Anyway, you all know the drill. Like, comment and subscribe and hit that bell to get notified for whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys, gals and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care, okay? Bye!